when we first had our first run in. It's almost got 5-star reviews, third-party sites like Power Reviews. Find out more today, whether it's Secret 12 or X2 or Super Male Vitality sold out, but Anthroplex is back in. Super Female Vitality is basically the same formula as Super Male. Works just as good in my view. So that's available. InfoWarsLife.com. And then you fund a platform to bring on amazing guests, investigative journalists, trailblazers, and heroes like our current guest. Again, I'm Alex Jones. InfoWars.com is the news site. Stay with us. Our guest site is atrvt.org. Stay with us. Conchita Sarnoff is our guest.
Nobody seemed to know.
It's our last segment with her, but I want to invite her back on the Nightly News for a more in-depth report and kind of show some of the background articles and things for TV viewers. This is a radio/TV broadcast. The Nightly News is 7 o'clock Central weeknights. Find details at Infowars.com/show. But take the Senate hearings now that are about to start on the admissions that Facebook selectively censors ideas they don't like but doesn't tell you. You may agree with censoring conservatives or anti-war people, but it doesn't mean that it should happen. I mean, there are tyrants out there. Just because some people want to restrict views doesn't mean they have a right to do it. And see, once that happens, now you can shut down the details of Bill Clinton's best buddy and the pedophile island that we've been exposing. Now, getting back to our guests, in the 5 minutes we have left, Conchita, what else is key for you to relay to folks that's in your books so they understand why the system was fighting so hard to suppress it?
Alex, I think one of the reasons that propelled me to move forward and to be so persistent was after the fact I met the prosecutor on Epstein's case. And as you will read in my book, I have his letter and certain documents at the beginning of the book because I needed to relay to the readers how important this particular case is, certainly when it comes to our future and the future of our children and the future of the enforcement of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, which is the federal law, the only federal law, one of the only federal laws, forgive me, the most important, that prosecutes traffickers and protects victims. And so when I met with our Alex Acosta, who was the prosecutor at the time of the Epstein case, he wrote a letter. I found, through a source, I found an email that was written to one of Epstein's defense attorneys. Epstein had several defense attorneys, all very powerful and influential and certainly leaders in their fields. And so the prosecutor wrote in the letter, we, the prosecution, were assaulted, and I quote, assaulted, during the time of Epstein's investigation. Now, you tell me, Alex, when does a prosecutor, number one, when does a prosecutor usually speak to a journalist? One. Two, when does a prosecutor use the word assaulted to describe the actions of the defense attorney or defense attorneys? As in
absolutely. Look, the folks that went after this scumbag were heroes. I mean, this is a death sentence probably still for them. And the answer is go after the globalists at every front. Just like with the Catholic Church, we're going to end up showing that basically half of these people are pedophiles. It's a cult of pedophiles. I've studied it for 2 decades plus. I couldn't believe it when insiders told me 20 years ago. But, man, I tell you, it is just totally sick, totally evil, and it describes all the tyranny we see. I mean, look at this article here out of CNN. Vietnamese girls, we're talking young girls, smuggled into China and sold as child bribes. Little kids, like 5, 6, 7 years old. Teacher to be prosecuted for calling Muhammad child molester. Breitbart. I mean, all she said was that the Quran was saying you go after 12 and 11-year-olds. So there's almost like a normalization. You talk about the UN. Some of the UN exposes it, but the UN's also been caught in its own trafficking. UN peacekeepers, DynCorp, Halliburton. We've got all that going on. We got NAMBLA trying to get recognized. I mean, there seems to be this whole hidden agenda. What's your view on that?
Yes, I totally agree with you. I mean, I find this confounding. I find the issue of human trafficking confounding in 2016. Number one, because I, like most Americans, believe that slavery, and this is simply child sex trafficking, is a form of...
Hold on, do 5 more minutes with us. We're going into overdrive. Infowars.com/show. Your station doesn't pick up the 4th hour. And the rest of the Billy Corrigan exclusives coming up as well with Paul Watson. Stay with us. Our investigative journalists, Joe Biggs and Wayne Madsen, 2 days after Scalia was dead, we're down there with David Knight and everybody else, our great crew, at that secretive 20,000-acre ranch on the border. And every hallway was just lined with devil masks, weird murals of children being eaten by devils, little beds outside the rooms, all this weird stuff. And Wayne Madsen and Biggs said, this looks like Bohemian Grove. This looks like, you know, some type of real perv stuff. This looks like a secret society. And then it came on the Washington Post a month later, I guess to get ahead of us. They went, yeah, it's a secret society for Bohemian Grove meeting. No big deal. So all I'm telling you is, man, we're in a lot of trouble. And there's a lot of freaks in control. And you hear about the psychopath that kills people on his own getting in trouble, but the high-level ones, they just run the show. And this rabbit hole, I remember having John DeCamp, former state senator, former CIA Black Ops commander in Vietnam on, and he didn't really come on anymore. He's gotten pretty old, has some health issues. I'll just leave it at that. He wrote the Franklin cover-up. Most of what's in that book later came out. And he was on air like 15 years ago going, in Boys Town. And then I tell you, Penn State, they sell the kids out to the football program and rape them. And I took him off air. And then it all came out and was true. And, I mean, it's just those of us that aren't attracted to children and aren't attracted to Satanism, we just don't get it. Finishing up with our guest, this is really a hard subject to talk about. Ms. Sarnoff, again, has written the book. It's available on her website, ConchitaSarnoff.com or atrvt.org. We've only got a few minutes left. This segment's over, but dealing with the rabbit hole, your research, is it a cult? Is it a larger group? Or is it groups of people that take over institutions? I mean, why is it that so many big institutions end up being run by pedophiles, universities, colleges, schools, reformatories, religious groups, military groups? I mean, what is going on from your deep research as an investigative journalist?
Well, look, Alex, I can't tell you for a fact that this is a cult. I mean, I haven't studied that, and that's interesting because that poses another question that I will now pursue. But I haven't pursued that road yet. But I will tell you that the cartels, the Mexican cartels, the Russian cartels, the Ukrainian cartels, the Chinese cartels, the Colombian cartels, these are the large networks. In the United States, you have a cartel called MS, which stands for Mara Salvatrucha. And MS works closely with several Mexican cartels. And they are definitely very involved in the trafficking.
Sure, let me ask you this question, because if Vladimir Putin can be proven to be involved, and that's a big deal, he claims he's trying to fix corruption. Is there any evidence which side of things Vladimir Putin's on?
No, I have not studied I have not read anything about Putin being involved in cartels that sell children. Whether he is or not, I can't tell you yes or no, but I have not seen anything.
Sure. What about the finders and stuff in the 80s? You know, the CIA has been directly connected to it. Well,
look, I think this is what I believe that there are men in very high places, such as was proven during my 7-year research, who are involved in one way or another, directly or indirectly, whether they're protecting a pedophile or they've tried it or they're interested. They're there at every level, certainly at every socioeconomic level. In every country, you have that. You have that in the United States. You have that in France. You have that in England. You have that in Switzerland. You have that in Spain and in Italy and everywhere else, in China, Australia. So, you know, it exists. Pedophilia is a disease. As a matter of fact, there's a pharmaceutical, which I just found out, a very interesting research is going on in Stockholm at the Karolinska Institute, where they're using a drug that is currently on the market for a different indication for prostate cancer.
To block pedophilia behavior?
And
well, you know, once they convict somebody, a ball-peen hammer 10 or 15 times in the back of the head, too, that cures it. I want to talk to you very soon. Thank you, Conchita Sarnoff, for your courage. God bless you. You're an amazing lady. Paul Watson's coming up.